দর্শক আমন্ত্রণ আন্তর্জাতিক সম্পর্ক উন্নয়ন বিষয়ক আরটিভি নিয়মিত অনুষ্ঠান ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক জোনে আপনাদের সঙ্গে আছে আমি সৈয়দ আশিক রহমান। আমাদের আজকের অতিথি বাংলাদেশে নিযুক্ত নরওয়ের রাষ্ট্রদূত হার এক্সেলেন্সি সিসেল ব্লেকেন। Very welcome, Excellency, at RTV Studio.
Thank you.
Excellency, you have a high mission to represent Norway as ambassador in Bangladesh. We see you have an excellent career profile. Would you please share your experience so far?
It's been a pleasure. I've been here now for 6 months as ambassador. Previously, I've been visiting Bangladesh a number of times as working with Bangladesh in Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I've been very warmly welcomed. People are very nice and open, and there are so many interesting, areas and challenges, but also so much positive development. And I think, in particular, you have a very young, eager, well-educated population, which I think is a huge asset for Bangladesh for the future.
Great. Thank you very much for your nice comments. Well, Excellency, how long you are staying here this time?
I plan to stay for 4 years.
4 years?
Yes.
Oh, great. So you visited how many places in Bangladesh?
So far, not that many places. I've been to Chittagong a number of times.
Chittagong?
And I've been to Cox's Bazar.
Cox's Bazar,
Yeah.
Chittagong?
It's good to get out from Dhaka from time to time, and it's important, I think, also as ambassador to not only see the city, but to see the rural areas as well.
So, what is your impression on social and economic standing of Bangladesh?
I think Bangladesh has made some tremendous progress since independence, when Bangladesh was very, very poor, a country that most people thought really didn't have a future. And if you look now to economic and social indicators, the Millennium Development Goals, how Bangladesh has been able to reduce poverty, which I think is, is an important part of economic growth, is not only benefiting the rich. In Bangladesh, you have managed this also to benefit the poor. Education, all children go to school. You have reduced population growth. And I think that is important also because it gives women more opportunities. They have more opportunity, more freedom to make their own choices. And also what Bangladesh has achieved when it comes to reduction of child mortality, I think is quite...
it's a big success.
Yes, it's a big success.
Well, Excellency, what is your opinion about the major achievement of Bangladesh?
Because some of the achievements I already mentioned when it comes to education. I think another important achievement is, how you have created your industry, the garment industry, and the growth and the possibilities for women to have paid work. I think that is a tremendous achievement, which is very, very important. Other achievements is, I think, also because Bangladesh is a country that is, where has been prone to natural disasters. The efforts that have been made to prevent disasters and risk reduction, warnings, shelters, is very, very important. When there is, a cyclone now, could be devastating, but it does not, there are more people, not so many people are killed from those natural disasters as what happened, with the catastrophes that we had in the 70s and also in the 80s. I think that's also a very, very important achievement.
Actually, we are getting support also. Norway government also supporting us to prevent the calamities and to stand against cyclones and other natural calamities.
Maybe I should say something about priorities, what needs to be done as well, because I think...
Please. What is the priorities areas that Norway desires Bangladesh to improve? What is your
I think,
opinion?
you have done very well when it comes to empowerment of women, but there are still quite some challenges. And I think one very serious, important area is violence against women. That is, throughout society, unfortunately. And I think, every 80% of married women, they report that they have been physically or mentally abused by their husband during their marriage. This is hampering also the economic development and the social development, and women do not reach their potential. So I think this is one very, very important area where there's need for improvement. Another area, I think, which is, high on the agenda for Norway, that is the democratic development, free and fair elections. That is, I very much hope that we will see that in the next national elections, and also that the local elections that are coming will be free and fair, and that there is real involvement and engagement also at the local level when it comes to political development. Another area,
well,
I think, yeah.
Okay. We are also expecting the same
So
time.
now you have a new election commission, and they have, of course, an opportunity
already a new election commission
Yeah.
Established, and they are working on it. They are taking the very good initiative to make a good election.
Yeah.
Well, Excellency, what are the interesting trade sector between Norway and Bangladesh, and what do you think are the untapped areas?
I think, of course, the most important Norwegian investment in Bangladesh is the Norwegian partly state-owned company Telenor, who is the majority owner of Grameenphone. They have made investments for, I think, close to 1.2 billion US dollars.
Exactly.
And of course, they contribute tremendously. They started, I think, as a kind of an adventure. Yeah, 20 years ago. They are celebrating 20 years this year.
And very successful.
Yes, very successful. And I think they made a revolution 20 years ago, providing, mobile phones to people in the countryside, cheap services and cheap phones, which made information accessible for everyone. Because this has developed to be, very much a success story. They are, I think, the largest company on your stock exchange. They are the largest taxpayer. And they provide, access to information for a lot of people. So that, I think, is the real, very, very, very important.
Very, very successful project.
Successful. And then your garment industry is important as well, because import of garments from Bangladesh is increasing every year.
What do you think? What are the untapped areas where we can work together?
There are a number of areas, and I think building also on the success of Grameenphone, the ICT sector.
ICT sector.
That should be something, e-governance.
And Bangladesh is coming up on ICT sector. We are moving fast.
Very much so. So I think that is one of the things that we need to convey to businesses in Norway as well. Because Bangladesh is not always very well known, and particularly not for, how progressive you are in a number of areas.
Well.
Another area which I think is important, and there are good prospects for further cooperation, that's the energy sector, and in particular renewable energy.
We can work on renewable energy with Norway government together?
Or with Norwegian companies. I think, this is business to business as well as government to government. That's
G2G.
Yeah, but I think also, the businesses need to be involved in this. It cannot only be government initiatives, it has to be private companies as well. With, I think, financial support from various government mechanisms, but it will have to, also have private sector involvement.
Great.
And then we have the marine industry. Norway is, of course, a maritime nation. And I just, yesterday visited one of your shipyards who has got recently a huge contract building fishing vessels for Norwegian fishermen. And that is the first time, I think, that there will be any vessel coming to Norway being built in Bangladesh.
Great.
This should be an area for future cooperation as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And that is nowadays, Norway's development assistance to Bangladesh is increasing in trade centers. Do you foresee any change as regard directions and priorities of your assistance?
Last 8 to 10 years, we have moved from basically development cooperation to more trade cooperation. And at the same time, Norwegian development cooperation has sort of shifted from focus on bilateral to more thematic support and multilateral support. So priorities would be health, education, climate change, and we would mainly channel that through multilateral organizations and global financing mechanisms. And because Bangladesh and we would provide core funding to a number of those organizations. And Bangladesh is, of course, one of the most, largest partners for a number of UN organizations. Exactly. And they also benefit from, global funds like fighting against AIDS, malaria, tuberculosis, and vaccination programs, and also the Green Climate Fund. So I think that, Norway will continue to support through multilateral channels. I think, also a number of institutional cooperation, for instance, disaster risk reduction, methodological, and academic cooperation between our academic institutions. That I think would continue as well. The University of Kulna, they have close contact with the University of Oslo and our Ibsen Center. Henrik Ibsen is the most famous Norwegian author with the A Doll's House, I think, is well known about the women who, seeking independence, leaving her husband to gain her independence. And we hope that this is a cooperation that has been going on for a number of years, and we hope it will be strengthened.
Great to learn from you. Well, it is said that Bangladesh is an ideal destination for FDI. In view of the fact that in next 50 years, Bangladesh growth rate may top other economies, how do you think Bangladesh should proceed to attract Norwegian investment?
Well, first I would say that one proof that Bangladesh is seen as an ideal country for foreign direct investment is that the Norwegian State Pension Fund, which is one of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world, maybe the largest, they started slowly in 2015, small investments, $18 million. Last year, this increased to $112 million. And they only invest in markets where they believe. They are for long-term investments, and they see that there are good prospects.
Well,
when it comes to, what Bangladesh needs to do, I think, apart from this kind of financial investment in your stock exchange, to have companies to come here, I think it's important to work on predictable framework conditions so that they know what will be kind of regulations, that tax regime would be stable, and also to fight corruption.
Fight corruption.
I think that is one.
Fight against corruption.
That's one of the questions Norwegian companies ask me. Could we invest here? How is it with corruption? And we say that you have to be, awake. This is a challenge in this society.
Challenge in society. Yes.
And so I think that is two areas which it would be important to increase, foreign investment, and also reduce bureaucracy, because the processes tend to be very, very lengthy.
Thank you. Excellency, we'll talk more after a short break.
Okay.
দর্শক দেখছেন আন্তর্জাতিক সম্পর্ক উন্নয়ন বিষয়ক আর টিভি নিয়মিত অনুষ্ঠান ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক জোন। এই পর্যায়ে নিচ্ছি বিরতি, ফিরছি একটু পরেই। সে পর্যন্ত আমাদের সাথেই থাকুন। দর্শক, আবারও আমন্ত্রণ আন্তর্জাতিক সম্পর্ক উন্নয়ন বিষয়ক আর টিভি নিয়মিত অনুষ্ঠান ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক জোনে। কথা বলছিলাম বাংলাদেশে নিযুক্ত নরওয়ের রাষ্ট্রদূত হার এক্সেলেন্সি সিসেল ব্লেকেনের সাথে। ওয়েলকাম এগেইন, Excellency, at RTV studio. Good governance is a major issue in Bangladesh. What is your opinion and what is your advice?
As I already mentioned, I think free and fair elections, that's basic for good governance. And I think also independence of important institutions, like your election commission, like your human rights commission, like the judiciary and the anti-corruption bureau. I think that's important elements. And there's also another element, it's linked at least to good governance, and that is workers' rights. I think, establishing mechanisms where workers, employees and employers can have a good dialogue.
Well,
that I think would be very, very important. We have seen, some unrest recently, and if there will be mechanisms, which I think we have very good experience from Norway, and that was fought by the trade unions 100 years ago. To establish mechanisms so they could have, negotiations and dialogue rather than just strikes and violence.
We believe that Bangladesh has made commendable improvement in gender equities, and the donor agencies also insist on inclusion of gender issues in their program. Do you have any suggestion for further improvement?
I think you are right that this is a very important area, and there are studies showing that, having more women included in the labor force, in paid labor, that can increase your GDP, with even a whole %. So I think, facilitating, more women in paid jobs, that is an important area. To achieve that, I think making sure that women also have the right not only to primary education, but to good quality secondary and tertiary education would be also very, very important.
Well, Excellency, developed economics feel that Bangladesh private sector should be a vehicle for filling up resource. Do you think that the private sector should receive increased assistance from the donors?
Cooperation between donors and private sector, as well as between government and private sector, because we are all, parts of creating good opportunities for development. I think, what donors could do in cooperation with private sector is partly making sure that there are good institutions, good framework regulations, capacity at the government side to regulate whatever the private sector is doing, And there could also be cooperation with private sector when it comes to skills development, for instance. I think that is one of the areas where there could be work out very well to cooperate between private sector and donors. And also another area is to provide finances, because the Norwegian Development Fund for private sector, for instance, they are now looking into increased cooperation with banks in Bangladesh to provide funds or finances, access to finances for small and medium-sized enterprises. And that is one of the areas, I think, where there could be even more cooperation also between donors and private sector.
Excellency, how do you think television and other electronics media could promote your activities here in Bangladesh?
I think they are very, very important. I think, we are living in an age where social media and electronic media are a very important channel of communication, not only, to the educated, but to everyone in the country. They have access to mobile phones, they could have the internet, they would have all kind of apps, and you would reach a large population. So I think, that good dialogue between, also with the media, like your TV station, who also reaches out to, large groups of the people.
And nowadays, online digital medias, they are working firmly and very fast access to the people, even it exists momentarily in the world.
And of course, now, any news can reach the world at any time. It's not like you have to wait for next morning when the newspaper is on your doorstep. It's there. If something happens, it's on the news. Within minutes.
Within minutes. Even sometimes within a few seconds, it is already
and of course also, have clear messages, I think, that can be conveyed through various media. That is, I think, very, very important.
Well, Excellency, do you have any suggestion about our integration to sustainable development goals?
I think, the sustainable development goals are global goals for everyone, so we have to work together. I'm very pleased that Bangladesh already in the development plans are very much aligned with the sustainable development goals. To be successful, I think we in each country need to identify, which areas are the weakest, and then try to rectify that. And remembering, which is an important part also, that, saying leaving no one behind. That, focusing on vulnerable groups and the weakest, I think, is very necessary.
Any final thoughts you want to share with our viewers? We are almost end of the program.
Well, I think, Bangladesh has done so much right in the past. You have had a tremendous development, which I think has come because of good government policies, because of strong civil society organizations, and because vibrant, private sector, and also focus on cooperation in those areas. So I think, continue the good work, making sure that women are included in every areas of the society, and you would have a bright future.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for being with us. We wish you good health and prosperity.
Thank you.
বাংলাদেশের সূচনা লগ্ন থেকে নরওয়ে সহযোগিতার হাত বাড়িয়ে দিয়েছে। গেল 4 দশকে দুই দেশের মধ্যে দ্বিপাক্ষিক সহযোগিতা বৃদ্ধি পেয়েছে উল্লেখযোগ্য হারে, যা অনুদান থেকে রূপ নিয়েছে বাণিজ্যে। মাননীয় রাষ্ট্রদূতের কথার সূত্র ধরেই আমরা বলতে চাই, ভবিষ্যতে দুই দেশের মধ্যকার দ্বিপাক্ষিক এই সম্পর্ক আরও উন্নত এবং দীর্ঘস্থায়ী হবে। এই প্রত্যাশা শেষ করছি আজকের ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক জোন। এতক্ষণ আমাদের সঙ্গে থাকার জন্য ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে।